Good evening, everyone, and welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Drew Corbett. I am the city manager. And I want to say right off the bat, Mayor Papan is the best mayor I have ever worked for as a city manager. Now, I've only been on the job for 4 weeks, so she's also the only mayor I've worked for as city manager, but still the best. So thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. This is a great crowd, and I think events like this are why this community is so great, to see so many people out, engaged residents at our State of the City event. So thank you for being here. Before I introduce the mayor, Samantha Weigel, our communications officer, stand up, wave, please. Thanks. So she is delaying my introduction of the mayor because she strong-armed me into taking a little straw poll to improve upon our communication strategy. So just by quick show of hands, how many of you were made aware of this event through an email? How about next door? How about social media? How about word of mouth? Okay. You have what you need? Can I introduce the mayor now? Thank you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, 2019 City of San Mateo Mayor Diane Papan.
The one, the only. All right. Well, thank you all for being here and putting up with the sound issues. I've titled this speech, Building on the Strength of Our Community. And I think it really starts with all of you. As they say, democracy isn't a spectator sport. And I really feel that your participation is really essential to the vitality of our city. So I'd like to start with a big round of applause for all of you being here. And I think also I'd like to acknowledge the staff in the room. Raise your hand if you're staff. Give it up for staff. These are professionals. These professionals work very hard for our community each and every day. So I'm really grateful for all that you do. And so it's with all of your support and participation that I really look forward to building on the strength of our community in my first term as mayor. There's also a reason to celebrate this year. 2019 marks our 125th birthday as a charter city. And it's been quite an evolution for our community. We began as a sort of small haven where San Franciscans took the train down to sort of spend some time outside of the city. And then we turned into, with the advent of a car, we turned into sort of a suburban bedroom community of San Francisco. Now, we're the hub of innovation, given our strategic location here on the peninsula. There are lots of people that come from all over the world that want to call San Mateo their home or a place to work. So these circumstances have also put us at a crossroads. Our city is experiencing change, which can be tough, but I really think San Mateo is resilient. And I think the key to that resiliency is community. We spend so much time separated in our silos, working at computers or doing what we do, but there's not a lot of room for interaction, and people are really craving and yearning for community, now more than ever. And I believe that one sense of community is profoundly impacted by what its city does. Cities play an integral part, not only in providing infrastructure for our physical needs and providing for public safety so we're physically protected, but it also provides opportunities for us to interact. And so what I'm going to do tonight is we're going to focus on many of the city's departments, both the ones that provide physical support and the ones that provide emotional support. And we're going to show you how the city really continues to make innovative solutions to our challenges. It tries to strike a balance when there are competing interests so that ultimately we evolve into a community that we can all love and participate in. So we're going to go through each of these departments, and we'll begin with the physical and the structural aspects. And first up is finance, because little can happen unless we got some money. And I really feel that as an elected, and we have two others in the room, that reminds me, Joe Goethals is a council member and Eric Rodriguez, so let's give it up for them. Give us a wave, something. But I can speak on their behalf as well. I feel that as electeds, one of our biggest jobs is to be stewards of our finances. And as you can see, our financial picture looks pretty good. revenues exceed expenditures. So we have a balanced budget at this time, but we're very mindful of uncertainties. Just like other cities, we're impacted by what happens in the economy for sure. 2018-19 marks an immense beginning of some really large infrastructure projects. And we'll get to those in a minute, but you can just see by the numbers. Citywide, we will spend $170 on operations and $580 million on our capital improvement program. It's a big deal. Of course, we have a very large fiscal challenge. Let's deal with the elephant in the room, our unfunded pension obligations. In a matter of 5 years, those obligations will be equal to 19% of our general fund. It's a big, big deal. So it's going to be a balancing act. We're going to chisel away at those unfunded pension obligations to really make sure that we have a fiscal sustainability in the city. But we want to balance that with maintaining services so that we can all continue to enjoy the high quality of life that we have here in San Mateo. So given these challenges, there may be some revenue enhancements. In particular, we're looking at maybe raising the hotel tax, the TOT tax. It hasn't been raised in a number of years. And then we also have our Measure S funds. So they do allow us to have some additional funding for things like paving our streets and making sure that public safety is funded. So we're very fortunate that the voters voted that in 2015. Okay, so now where does that leave us? Finally, with respect to our fiscal finances, we want to maintain transparency at all times with the public. Just 2 nights ago at our city council meeting, we received a large presentation on the budget. So I would invite anybody who's interested in drilling down more on the budget to visit our website, and you can find the video from our city council meeting on January 22nd. Okay, after finance comes public works, and it plays a key role, obviously, in our physical comforts. And we're embarking upon substantial investments in improving our infrastructure that we rely on every day. In the next 5 years, we're going to spend $800 million on improving our on improving our infrastructure. You know, when I ran for office, I came up with the slogan that I was going to make sewers sexy. It was catchy, but it also was really, I did it for 2 reasons. Number one is I wanted to convey how immediate how the city immediately impacts your needs and how it is a very direct impact. And the other thing I wanted to convey is that much of that infrastructure, much of the things that cater to our immediate needs is at the end of its useful life. And I really wanted to focus in on the fact that we were going to have to pay attention to this infrastructure sooner rather than later. So let's look at some of these projects. We'll start with the Clean Water Program. It consists of replacing our wastewater treatment plant, replacing pipes, replacing some pumps, and installing an underground storage facility. It's a $1 billion project. The biggest development in this project is that we, along with only 39 other projects in the entire nation, are going to be allowed to apply for a low-interest federal loan. It means a lot. It will pay for 49% of the wastewater treatment plant. But the biggest thing is it will save our ratepayers $100 million in interest payments. So we're really, really proud of being able to qualify for the loan. The rest of the project, 51% of the construction of the wastewater treatment plant, the pipes, the pumps, will all be paid for in the bond market where the interest rates are higher. So getting this loan is really a great service to our ratepayers and allows us to update our infrastructure in a way that is relatively economical. Next up with Public Works is our grade separations going on at 25th, 28th, and 31st. It's a real effort to increase our east-west capacity and to relieve the burdens off of Hillsdale Boulevard, which we know, you get on Hillsdale Boulevard at 3 o'clock at any given afternoon, and it's really, really difficult. These grade separations were about 15 years in the making, if not longer. And they resulted they have become possible because funds were cobbled together from the feds, from the state, from the city. It was a real endeavor to get them off the ground. And I can tell you that they are the envy of a lot of cities in the county. Right now, those cities are actually scrambling to get toolboxes, toolkits, to be able to figure out how to get grade separations in their own city. And we've got 3 underway. So we're enormously proud of this project. It means a lot to mobility in the city. Public Works also has its Smooth Streets program. Last year and this year combined, they'll be replacing 6 miles of failed streets. And then there's also the upgrades at 92 and El Camino. And who among us is not delighted that we no longer have to take our lives in our hands getting off 92 or on 92? I would be included in that, no doubt, no doubt. We can comply with that. There's also 2 new interactive GIS map portals. Public Works worked on these with IT, and now you can go on there and find out, when is your street going to be repaved? And when are you going to get that neighborhood traffic calming device that you so desperately want? It's your money, and we feel it's imperative that you have an ability to look and see what the status is of getting the benefits of that money. And I'm delighted that Public Works worked with IT to get it off the ground. Finally, with Public Works, there's a project that's near and dear to me, and I call it Project Quiet Night. I was calling it Project Silent Night, but when we were on the conference call with the Federal Rail Authority, they thought that I was overselling it. So I've reduced it now to Project Quiet Night. And as you know, we have about 6 rail crossings that go through downtown San Mateo. If we can upgrade some of those rail crossings, we can create a quiet zone. And that means that when the freight trains go up and down the peninsula in the middle of the night, the conductors will no longer have to blare on the horns because the the rail crossings are safer. So stay tuned for Project Quiet Night. I'm going to make it happen. Next up is public safety, and we'll start with fire. As of 11 days ago, we are no longer the San Mateo Fire Department. We are now a part of San Mateo Consolidated. We consolidated with Foster City and Belmont. We're going to save money and still maintain a high quality of service. It was quite a feat to pull it off, but we are now a JPA with Foster City and with Belmont. And of course, when our firefighters are not in uniform, they're still a big part of our community participants. Every year, they hold the chili cook-off that benefits MS, and they also hold a toy drive at the holiday time. Last up with fire is the moving of Fire Station 25 around the corner. So we'll have an upgraded fire station, and it comes with the added bonus that there'll be a park on the other half of that lot. So stay tuned. Coming soon, coming soon. Next up, we move on to police. And as for police, in 2018, they responded to some 65,000 calls for service. Unbelievable. They'll also continue their focus on youth. It's really imperative that if you can reach folks when they're younger, it really does show that we will have crime prevention. So they reached some 4,000 youths with their Police Activities League, and they also are participating in a juvenile delinquent deterrence program, and they kept 23 youth out of jail through that program. Last year, we completed our first year with body-worn cameras, and the police will also continue to improve on their community relations with safety messaging and alerts. They'll also continue in 2019 to collaborate with the neighborhoods to improve our quality of life. They'll continue with their emergency alerts, and they're going to collaborate with Public Works on traffic and parking hotspots. So I'm just delighted that we also have collaboration in our city as well, among departments. Okay, so now we're going to move away from the city's physical structure, and we're going to move on to our community work promoting interaction and engagement. It's sort of the emotional quotient, if you will. And the departments that kind of cater to this are Park and Rec, the library, the city manager's office, and community development. So we begin with Parks and Rec. They serve thousands of residents with their innovative programs. In 2018, Park and Rec initiated the Get Up and Go on-demand senior transportation, and where 2,100 rides were taken in the first year alone. They launched their mobile rec van that brings activities to underserved neighborhoods and also to senior housing complex. They renovated the koi pond in Central Park so that it no longer leaks and has clearer water. Going forward in 2019, we've adopted the Central Park Master Plan. It'll have a plaza and a community events building as you go into Fifth Avenue. So we're really that plan is working on a way to kind of meld Central Park and the downtown together. We're going to chisel away at what I call the bleacher blockade, those really high bleachers. There'll be bleachers there, they just won't be as massive as they are now. And then finally, we'll be upgrading the picnic areas and the children's playground, all as a part of the Central Park Master Plan. The other thing that Park and Rec is going to do in 2019 is the Martin Luther King Field will be replaced with turf. That's starting in the spring. And then finally, Park and Rec is going to continue to work on its facilities strategic plan. We have a system of about 5 different rec centers. And they're really not modern, and they don't cater to the way that we recreate today. So the first order of business is to create a plan, and that's what Park and Rec is working on for the future, and we hope to have that completed in 2019. So stay tuned on that score. Okay, so next up is the library. The library plays an invaluable role in fostering our sense of community, not only with providing a meeting place for us, but also with its innovative programs. In 2018, the library, our San Mateo Library, was the first one in the county to provide library cards to all public school students. They issued some 5,200 library cards. What does that mean? It means that they're opening, yeah, we can clap for that, that's okay. I love that you clap for that because I feel like you really understand the import of it. And it really does open up a whole world for a lot of kids that may not have it. So I get a little choked up with it because it does mean a lot. If you ever come here at 3 o'clock, you'll see every computer terminal is filled. So we're trying to bridge the digital divide, and we're really working on it, and I think it means a lot. Those library cards give kids a 21st century library that lends Wi-Fi hotspots, Chromebooks, ebooks, and digital media for news and periodicals. The annual customer satisfaction survey for our library reflected 96% good or excellent. And we should really take pride in that because this is a wondrous place. And if it means the library services are rated that good, it means we're making this wondrous place available for as many people as possible in an effective way. In 2019, yeah, go ahead, clap, it's fine with me. In 2019, the library will spend $100,000 on our branch libraries, both at Marina and at Hillsdale. And the upgrades are going to consist a lot of advancing the front desk when you come in, making it user-friendly, you know, those sorts of things. Finally, with respect to the library, on February 7th, the new bookmobile is coming. And I'm here to tell you it's not your parents' bookmobile. It's going to be fabulous, so stay tuned. The unveiling happens on February 7th, and we're really looking forward to it. Alrighty, so now we're going to move on to the nerve center of the city's community operations, as it were, the city manager's office. In addition to handling our day-to-day operations, the city manager's office also handles a lot of programs and initiatives. They've got sustainability, volunteerism, communications, and economic development. So let's start at the top. We already heard that we've got a new occupant in the office. After 18 years with the city, Larry Patterson, our city manager, retired. The City Council was proud to appoint our Assistant City Manager, Drew Corbett, and his appointment really has resulted in a smooth transition of leadership at the top. So we couldn't be more delighted. Drew, welcome aboard. You haven't... Next up is sustainability, which is handled in the city manager's office. And San Mateo is really at the forefront of sustainability. In 2015, we enacted a climate action plan. It had 28 measures. We've already achieved 24 of them. So we're going to be updating our climate action plan. The other thing that we're really proud of is we had planned to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to below 2005 levels, and we were trying to get there by 2020. We got there by 2018. And we're actually 18% below 2005 levels. So we're well ahead of schedule. As for volunteer coordination, we're delighted to report that we have a strong base of volunteers who so graciously dedicated some 80,000 hours last year to their city, which is the equivalent of some $2 million of in-kind donations. So I'm happy to report that San Mateo is safer, it's friendlier, and it's cleaner because we had residents that participated in things like Adopt a Drain, Neighborhood Watch, the citywide yard sale, and my favorite, the Bayfront cleanup, because Public Works always serves a barbecue at the end of it. But it's awesome, awesome. There's also community engagement, which is so important to our sense of community. And we really feel that the first thing you do to enhance community is to communicate. communications is really at the core. So in 2018, the city manager's office rolled out San Mateo Community e-News, a bi-monthly citywide newsletter that tells you about what's going on in the city, initiatives, projects, events, that sort of thing. And it's really a way for us to push information to our residents. You don't have to come to us. We'll get you the information. And we think nothing could be more imperative to one's sense of community than to just be informed about what's going on. So we're really proud of that e-newsletter. We've also developed an emergency services communications plan, because let's face it, it's not a matter of when we're going to have a disaster. It's not a matter of if. I knew I was going to screw this up. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. So we really intend to be able to communicate with our residents and hopefully to reduce the risk to human life and to property damage and to the environment. So we planned ahead. Economic development is also handled by the city manager's office, which brings me to downtown, the crown jewel of San Mateo. We're dedicated to improving your experience in our premier meeting place. As you can see, we've installed twinkle lights on B Street, and we've also instituted a power washing the sidewalks program, which has been very well received by most of the proprietors downtown. It's just made a huge difference for them. In 2018, we also had several new eateries come into existence. We had Halal Guy, Saj Mediterranean, Medici Pizza, and Red Giant Coffee, just to name a few. Also important to our sense of community is entertainment. So we're really proud that in 2019, Hillsdale is going to complete its movie theater, its food terrace, and its bowling alley. So stay tuned for that. There'll be great additions to the city and our sense of community for sure. The city is also committed to doing its part for affordable housing and just wages in general. So in 2016, the City Council adopted an incremental minimum wage increase. We were the first city in the county to do it. Several cities have followed suit, but we were the first to do it, and I'm proud to say, as of January this month, 2019, we've reached $15 minimum wage per hour. So we're just delighted about that because we are sensitive to what's going on. The city also is doing its part with respect to housing. We have 2 affordable housing projects that we are involved with and we will own. The first is over at Bay Meadows, and they're about to break ground this spring, and there will be 68 affordable housing units. Then we have our former redevelopment sites, and last year we approved a development there for 164 affordable housing units right along the transit corridor. It's going to be an excellent use of that land. So we're sensitive to it, and we're on it. And now we move on to the department that actually has the word community in it, the Community Development Department, which handles planning, growth, and code enforcement. So let's start off with a few stats. Since 2018, we approved 222 housing units, 170,000 square feet of office and commercial space, and a 182-unit hotel. In 2018, community development served some 26,500 customers, issued 4,250 building permits, and closed 770 out of 900 code enforcement cases. In 2019, community development will enhance the customer service experience by implementing online electronic plan checking and permitting and streamlining development review. Finally, community development is planning for the future in the biggest way possible, updating our general plan. Strive San Mateo is going on right now, providing multiple opportunities for engagement. Nothing is more essential to our folks and our sense of community than engaging about the general plan. We want to hear about you. What are your values and what are your dreams for our community of the future? So I strongly encourage all of you to get involved and find out about Strive San Mateo and find out where you can give your input, because we do want to hear from you. As the city is part of a larger region and our sense of community really doesn't stop at our borders, I wanted to touch on 2 ways that our city is collaborating with other cities. The first one is traffic, and the second is sea level rise. So let's start with traffic. There are 2 essentially major transportation projects that are going on right now on the peninsula. The first is the managed lanes or toll lanes that are about to be constructed. It's a $500 million project. It's expected to be completed in 2022, and they'll put in these lanes from Whipple all the way to 380. But the toll lanes will actually start at our border with Santa Clara, but the new ones that are going to be added run from Whipple to 380. So stay tuned on that front. Next is Caltrain electrification. That's also set to be completed in 2022. It'll give us a state-of-the-art electrified rail system that will increase capacity, take cars off the road that would otherwise be there, and improve the environment for generations to come. As water knows no boundaries, we're also involved in a collaborative approach to sea level rise. This is a mouthful, so stay with me. But the county-wide sea level rise resistance program is in the works. And it'll take an enormous amount of money for us to fortify ourselves against sea level rise, which means that it's going to take some federal money. And the best way that we qualify for federal money is if we collaborate. So I've actually been involved with the creation of this agency, and I'm really proud of the fact that we've all been able to come together. You know, we might, I don't know, hopefully. I mean, I will not probably see the results of these efforts. We're talking about fortifying against sea level rise for, you know, the 2100. But you got to have this foresight. I'm hopeful that our children and their children will look back and say, thank God our generation had some foresight to do something about it. So these are just two of the ways that we work collaboratively with other cities to improve on our community. And in keeping with the spirit and focus of community, I have instituted the quarterly Community Hero Program, the Mayor's Quarterly Hero Award. And it's really to honor somebody that has been selfless for community, that's kind of gone above and beyond for their community. We'll honor the person at a city council meeting, we'll give them an award, and we'll hang their picture in City Hall. Just to kind of, you know, keep that momentum going as it relates to community. Do you love our pictures? So anyway, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. We've come so far as a city, but as you can see, there's much work to be done. I think creating community really requires vigilant participation so that we build on our strengths of our community. And I feel just enormously privileged to be here, to be able to work with you so that we really build on our spirit of community. So thank you for being here. So, thank you. So what I thought I would do is, you've all been so kind to sit for a long time. Maybe if there are some burning questions, maybe about 5-10 minutes of questions, and then I'll be around if you have any questions after that. But are there any questions from the audience? And it's okay if they're not. Like, I'm good. Okay.
Is this one on
I think
too?
we can give you a microphone. Okay.
We would actually like you to talk at the microphone because it's recorded. Can you guys hear this?
In regard to the master plan board, or people who are going to run the master plan, in the past it has been citizens, I believe, and has that changed? The makeup of the board changed?
Yeah, so it is made up of, it's a conglomeration, but we have folks from the Planning Commission and folks from the City Council that are on the subcommittee that transfers kind of information that's gathered in the community onto the folks creating the general plan. We also have a consultant that helps us with.
But not citizens as such?
I don't think it is open to citizens. I think we just...
Was it in the past?
Yes, I believe it. Well, I don't know if it was in the past. I can't speak to that. What I can tell you is other cities may do it that way, but this is the way that they're doing it this year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
In regards to your master plan, how will Scott Wiener's bill in the state for usurping local city rules affect your plan?
I'm so delighted you asked that question. I really am. So let me just, if I could explain just for a moment what Scott Wiener's bill is. He tried to do this last year. He's reintroduced another bill, SB 50, to modify it. It didn't really succeed last year. And what he would like to do is impose upon cities heights and density requirements that should be a bit higher. And as you know, land use has traditionally been in a city's purview because each city has its different dynamic. I I don't know how it will ultimately play out, how our master plan will drive with his. I can tell you that there are a lot of cities that are not receptive to the bill, to say the least. And if you want to know my personal opinion, I don't think it's data driven. I think, you know, he comes from an urban environment where he thinks or sees that there could be more density. I don't think he's come really down the peninsula to see how much is actually being done along our transit corridor and what we're trying to accomplish. So I don't know if he's going to succeed. We have this city and county association of governments, and they have a legislative committee. He's actually coming to the legislative committee for 1 hour on February 14th. And we intend to bring forward to him, every city that goes to that, and it's all cities on the peninsula, how much we've done with building, so that he has some understanding of what's going on. There's a reason why cities have planning in their purview, because it isn't a one-size-fits-all. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. But we're going forward with our general plan. There's no to it. But it is the sort of Damocles above us to a certain degree. There's no question about it. And we feel it. We definitely feel it. Any other questions? But thank you for asking. It was a great question. Yes, sir.
Is there any plan to modernize the parking situation in downtown San Mateo? Like using quarters and dollar bills still seems...
Yes. Yes. You're a little tired of using those, are you? We will get there. And we will also be, I mentioned our former redevelopment site for 164 affordable housing units. The other redevelopment site is going to have 300 parking spaces added to downtown. So it will be modern, I can guarantee you, in that for sure. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Any other questions?
Related to that, question the gentleman just gave, where I live, there's people, they park their vehicles and they leave it 2 or 3 weeks at a time. Takes up all the people who live in the area, their parking spot. What's going to be done about that?
Well, funny you should say that. We just had a study session 2 nights ago from the police department, and we were given some options about how much more we would have to spend on parking enforcement for our neighborhoods, and we were given some options. So stay tuned. We may be spending a little more money so that at least we can maintain the enforcement that people are expecting. We may not be able to cover the entire city 24 hours a day, every 2 hours. But we were given some plans just 2 nights ago to see how much more money we can spend on it so that people can at least get enforcement out there for just those sorts of things that you're talking about, and that there's no more room on the streets left for our residents. Happens in my neighborhood too, so you're preaching to the choir. I get it. So stay tuned.
Mayor, in that same regard, the increase in parking, patrol, and enforcement that you're talking about, the question with or the proposal that was given at the study session a couple of nights ago.
Yes, you were there.
Will the costs of that be then put on to those who have residential parking permits that they'll be patrolling? Who's going to pay for those added expenses of the?
Well, it would probably have to come out of the general fund at this point. Yeah, there has been talk about a small fee for the residential parking permits, but we haven't gotten to it yet. Mm-hmm. So but I don't know that that's going to go to fund the police that I'm pointing at Dave Norris, who gave the presentation the other night. But no, that wouldn't be allocated to that. It would really probably just be a nominal fee to cover the cost of registration and that sort of thing. We're planning on it coming out of the general fund.
Oh, okay. And then also one other question.
Sure.
The new Hillsdale Caltrain station, I understand that they're only going to have 500 parking spots there for that station. That's what a Caltrain representative told me, and that's what we're dealing with now. Well, not at this very moment because they're reconstructing the station platform, such. But that's what we have now for our station, and they expect a big increase in ridership when we get the new platform in. So what can anything be done about that with the city and Caltrain to increase the parking?
I'm looking at our Public Works Director. It is 500 stalls. Not that I'm aware of. What is the latest rage to work on is that sort of last mile, so that people don't have to park at the station. Rather, they can leave their home and catch some sort of transportation to then get to the train station. But I don't think there's physically enough land there to expand those parking spaces. Do I have my facts right, Brad? Physically, it's just not doable. I wish it was, but it's just not doable. Okay. We'll
I got time for maybe one or two more.
Okay.
So I enjoy walking a lot, and I've heard a lot about the cars and the parking and the traffic and everything like that, but I'm wondering about design for actual pedestrian traffic where it's pleasant to walk around and enjoy the city and grass and trees and all that. So I live, first of all, I have to thank you for that public works of the flattening the streets, because I live in that neighborhood, North Shore, and I drove on that terrible street for the longest time. Anyways, thank you for that. But so that walkway from my neighborhood towards downtown on 3rd, that over 101,
yes.
that bridge, it's not the most beautiful thing. I mean, I'm glad it's there. I think it's just older, and I'm just kind of wondering, the example of making that even just a little bit more attractive could probably attract more foot traffic. So that's my question.
Good, good. So what you're referring to is walkable streets. And walkable streets is certainly something that our community has been working on for a long time. We actually have, Sustainable Streets Master Plan that focuses on narrowing, and we just narrowed some streets on San Mateo Drive so that you could ride your bike a little easier, you could walk a little easier. As for 3rd and the overcrossing on 3rd, I'm going to put you in touch with Brad. Brad Underwood is our Public Works Director, and I want you to connect with him. And if you have trouble communicating, you can always give me a call. Diane Papan. I'll give you my card. Okay. Lester, go ahead.
Mayor, I'm sure there are many things that keep you up at night about the state of our city. If you could have a wish and throw up a proverbial bat signal and ask all the citizens of San Mateo who care about the city to work on, what would be that one thing?
I love it. I love it. Well, it wouldn't. What keeps me up at night and what I'd want the citizens to work on would be two different things. So can I take them separately, kind of? Okay, so the unfunded pension liabilities just keeps me up at night. I tend to look at things very fiscally. It's funny, being elected, there is no dearth of good ideas on how to handle our problems. Like, everyone's got one, but the minute you ask them how you're going to pay for it, it's like deer in the headlights. So if we could get that monkey off our back or get that elephant out of the room, there would be so many other things that we could do, because most of it costs money. So what would be the thing that I think, well, I'm kind of big on my Project Quiet Night. So I would actually like to see if we can't get some corporate donations and private money to also assist with that, because it'll happen sooner rather than later. I think it's something that is a quality of life issue, and I think that if we set up a fund where we could donate to it, I think it would happen a lot faster. But I think those are the big ones. My probably community-wide thing is to maintain a level of participation. I feel quite strongly that it makes a difference in our everyday lives. I kind of feel like I landed in the catbird seat of even living in San Mateo, because it does have a really strong community already, but it takes vigilance. And so if there's something like people could do just come to events, participate, give a darn about what's going on around you. So that's probably the biggest, most probably fundamental, and the cheapest, or maybe the most expensive, because really all we have in life is our time, right? So, but I thank you for the question. I liked it. It really caused me a little bit of pause to think about it. Yes? How often do you have these meetings like this? So the State of the City is once a year. But we have city council meetings twice a month. And then we also have commission meetings that some of them are standard, twice a month planning, public works, sustainability and infrastructure, it's now called, park and rec. Those are kind of the biggies, the library commission. So those are the biggest ones. But what else do we have? Lots of events. So anyway, thank you for being here. I will be around if you have other questions, but thank you for giving up your time. I appreciate it.